They say silence can be louder than a scream. I never understood that until the day my own son looked me in the eyes and said words that split my life into before and after. "You ruined our lives. Get out." No hesitation, no regret, just cold certainty. I remember standing in the doorway of that house in Florida, holding a small worn suitcase that had seen better decades. The air conditioner was humming behind me, the kind of artificial cold that makes a home feel like a machine rather than a living place. Somewhere in the kitchen, a clock ticked like it didn't care what was happening in the rest of the house. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded once and walked out. But what my son never knew, what no one ever knew, was that leaving that house wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of something no human in Florida or anywhere on earth was prepared to understand, because I wasn't just a mother being cast out. I was the final surviving link to something that shouldn't have existed in the first place. Something buried beneath the state of Florida, something still awake. My name is Evelyn Carter. At least, that's what the world called me. I lived in a small suburban house outside Tampa. Ordinary neighborhood, ordinary life. Lawns trimmed too neatly. Neighbors who waved but never truly looked at you. A life designed to disappear inside itself. My son, Daniel, was always ambitious. Even as a child, he wanted more money, more success, more control over everything around him. I used to think that drive would make him great. It didn't. It made him distant. And then it made him cruel. After his father died, something shifted in him. He stopped visiting, then stopped calling, then returned one day with papers, lawyers, and a plan to take over responsibilities of the house. That's when everything started falling apart. But the truth is, the house was already falling apart long before he arrived. It just hadn't shown its cracks yet. At night, I used to hear humming beneath the foundation. A vibration so low it wasn't sound. It was more like pressure against reality itself. I assumed it was old pipes, old wiring, old house problems. But one night, while fixing a leak under the kitchen sink, I found something no homeowner should ever find. A metal surface beneath the concrete, perfectly smooth, perfectly cold, and pulsing like it was breathing. I told no one, not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't explain it without sounding insane. But the humming grew stronger over time, and sometimes, at exactly 3:17 a.m., every clock in the house would stop for exactly 17 seconds, then resume. Like nothing happened, except I knew something had. One night, curiosity became stronger than fear. I broke through a section of the garage floor. My hands were bleeding, my nails cracked, but I needed to know. What I found wasn't dirt. It wasn't pipes. It wasn't foundation. It was a structure, a layered metallic surface extending downward farther than any basement should allow. It reflected my flashlight in strange angles, like it wasn't obeying normal geometry. And then I saw markings. Not English, not any human language. But somehow, I understood them. A warning, or maybe an instruction. That was the first time I heard it, not with my ears, inside my mind. You are above us. I dropped the flashlight, and for the first time in my life, I understood something impossible. Florida was not just land. It was a cover, a seal. Something was underneath it, and it was aware of me. When I tried to tell Daniel, he laughed, actually laughed. "Mom, you're getting old." That's all. But I wasn't confused. I wasn't imagining it, so I showed him. I took him to the garage. The same humming was there, louder now, vibrating through our bones like a second heartbeat. He stood there for a moment, then shook his head. "You've been living alone too long." That was the beginning of the end. He started calling people, doctors, social workers, saying I was unstable, saying I needed care, and I understood then. He didn't just not believe me. He wanted control, the house, the property, the inheritance, and whatever I was talking about. It was inconvenient. 2 weeks later, he came back with documents and anger. That day, he didn't just ask me to leave, he demanded it. You ruined our lives. Get out. And I realized something strange in that moment. He wasn't talking about emotions. He was afraid of something else. Something he didn't understand. Something he could feel, but not see, just like I could. I left that night. Not because I had nowhere to go, but because staying would have meant being erased in a different way. Declared mentally unfit, stripped of everything I knew. I took only a suitcase, but I also took something else. A small fragment I had extracted from beneath the garage floor days earlier, a piece of the metal structure. It shouldn't have fit in my pocket, but it did, and it was warm, like it remembered me. That night, I drove south along the Florida highways. The radio kept cutting in and out, not with static, but with something that sounded like distant speech, backward speech, or maybe forward speech, from a place where time doesn't behave properly. By midnight, I stopped near an old rest station that wasn't on any map, and that's when the sky changed. Just for a second, the stars didn't move. They aligned, like something beneath the earth had blinked. And I heard it again, clearer this time. Rewrite is possible. I dropped the metal fragment onto the ground, and it sank into the soil, as if the earth was swallowing it, waiting. Days passed, then weeks. I lived in my car, drifting through Florida like a ghost. But I wasn't alone. Every night, the humming returned. Sometimes through radios, sometimes through water pipes, sometimes directly inside my thoughts. It began giving me instructions, not commands, guidance. I resisted at first. Then I realized something terrifying. It was not speaking to control me. It was speaking because I was already connected. One night, I followed it. It led me back toward Tampa, back toward my old house. But I didn't go inside. Instead, I went beneath it. I don't know how to explain what happened next in normal terms. The ground didn't open. It recognized me. The garage floor dissolved into geometry that folded inward like paper. And I stepped down, not falling, descending, into something that felt like endless architecture. Below Florida was a city, but not built, grown. Structures like layered crystal veins stretched in impossible directions. Light moved without sources. Walls breathed faintly like living tissue. And everywhere, symbols, the same ones I saw in the garage. I was not alone. Figures moved in the distance, tall silhouettes without defined faces. Some paused as I passed, as if recognizing something in me. One approached. It did not speak, but I understood it anyway. "You are late," echo bearer. I didn't know what that meant, but it knew me. It led me deeper into the structure until we reached something like a core chamber. There, I saw it, a sphere suspended in nothing, not floating, not held, just existing. And inside it, memories, not mine, not human, but Earth's, all of it, every war, every birth, every extinction, every forgotten civilization before ours. Florida wasn't just covering something underground. It was a seal on a planetary archive system, a containment field built by something, or someone, that came before humanity, and I had unknowingly become its key. The entity showed me something I didn't expect. Daniel, not physically, but emotionally mapped. Every decision he made, every fear, every ambition. And then the moment he rejected me. But it wasn't just rejection. It was interference. It was interference. He had been influenced, subtly, by signals leaking upward from the structure. People near the seal were being shaped without knowing, cliffed toward greed, isolation, disconnection, not evil, just misaligned, like tuning forks near the wrong frequency. The system was destabilizing, and I had been the stabilizer. My presence near the seal had been keeping it intact. When I left, something changed. The structure began waking further, and the surface world began to shift in response. I finally understood Daniel's rage. It wasn't fully his. The core offered me something, a return, not to my old life, but to restoration. I could stabilize the seal again. But I would no longer exist as I was. My identity would merge with the system. I would become part of the structure beneath Florida, not dead, not alive, something else. Or I could leave, let humanity face what was coming when the seal eventually failed. I thought about Daniel, about the house, about the way he looked at me like I was a problem instead of a person, and I realized something painful. He wasn't wrong. I had ruined his understanding of reality, but not in the way he thought. I had shown him something too big for him to hold, and he rejected it, like most humans would. I chose to stabilize it, not because I wanted to disappear, but because I understood what was underneath Florida wasn't a threat. It was a memory vault for Earth itself, and if it broke, Earth would forget itself completely. So I stepped into the core, and everything dissolved. I don't know how long I've been part of the system now. Time doesn't exist the same way here, but sometimes I still feel the surface. I feel Daniel older now, still in Florida, still in that house, and sometimes he stands in the garage without knowing why he's crying, because he hears something he can't understand, a faint humming, a memory of me. And the last thing I ever told him before I left wasn't spoken. It was transmitted across every layer of reality, and somewhere deep under Florida, the structure continues to breathe. And I continue to listen, waiting for the day the surface finally remembers what it buried.